Hey friend, in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to paint rocks and details inside of an ocean painting. This is the third part of our series that we're focusing on an ocean landscape, which is the cover art of my third book, Everyday Watercolor Seashores. So if you're ready to start painting those details on your ocean landscapes, let's dive in. If you haven't yet caught up to speed with us for the month of March, make sure you go back and watch the previous two videos where I've covered the different elements of the ocean painting so far. And for now, we're gonna start jumping in with the rock details and some of the ocean details. So let's get started. So in this painting I did for the cover of my book, Everyday Watercolor Seashores, I actually had the rocks penciled out and painted the water around the rocks first. But today I'm gonna show you how to create a thick enough paint so that you can paint these rocks on top of your water. And then we're gonna outline or darken the area where we want to put our wave. And then this will be, all the details will be next week for the wave and the rocks in next week's video. So what we're gonna do, I'll be using my size 16 round brush to mix up this color and to paint my rocks. So I'm grabbing burnt umber and I'm grabbing a lot of it. The mixture you'll have is probably gonna be around 90% burnt umber, 10% black, at least what I'm gonna do for it. So I'm grabbing a lot of paint. You can also grab paint straight from the tube. So paint straight from the tube will obviously give you a really thick paint. Whoosh. Right from the beginning, lots of paint. But you don't wanna get all of that because that'd be a crazy amount for the size rocks that we're painting. This needs a little bit more water. So I want this to be a little bit darker. I'm gonna grab some black. A little bit thicker. So we want it to feel kind of sticky like honey. Similar to a more velvety feeling like with gouache. I just grabbed some dragon's blood to give it a little bit of warmth, a little bit more red in the mix, and then a little bit more black. So I'm starting to see this little like wave right here where there's a lighter blue. I want that to be the top of my wave. So we'll have crash and foam happening. So we'll have this wave kind of hitting the top of our rocks right here where that light streak is. Right underneath that is where the top of my rocks will go, and then we'll have the splash right above that. So I'm just gonna paint in some rock shapes. You want the bottoms of your rocks to be pretty parallel with the strokes you have for your ocean. You want them to be straight across for the most part, because that's just how it would work. But I do sometimes come in like down a little bit and give it a little bit of a wave for the bottom. And then I'm just gonna build it up, but not go too much higher than that, so that I stay below that lighter streak where I'm gonna put the top of my wave. And we can create whatever shape we want to with our rock. It can be hilly or, you know, just not very hilly. And then we'll taper the ends. And we'll add contrast to that in next week's video. We'll have white down there anyways from next week, so that will cover up some of that. And then I want another rock, maybe down here, to cover up some of this paper blemish that we got going on. Happens with every brand of paper from time to time. But I didn't want to start over. So, filling in that rock and maybe grabbing some thicker, lighter brown to add some contrast in more light areas on top of your rocks. Or even some red, dragon's blood. You won't see it a whole lot, but it does add just a hint of that color. And it's nice. let's put another rock right here. Just a little guy. That was way too thin, so it's translucent, so we need a transparent, so we need to go back over it. Thicker and darker. Like so. Okay, and now we can start outlining where our wave is gonna go. So you can do this before you do all of this. You can sketch out the wave first. All right, so I have my size 2 round brush now, and I'm grabbing a very thick amount of Prussian blue, and I'm gonna add some black to it. So I need a little bit of water to pick up the black, but I wanna keep this a very thick, creamy consistency. Like I want it to actually feel like heavy cream consistency while keeping its really dark value. So now I know that the top of this rock indicates where my major like splash is gonna happen. And so I'll have a wave kind of coming in like this. And so I'm just basically gonna outline the top of my wave. And I like to go up to where I see some like a lighter streak like this, because that's already naturally gonna give me that foam look that I'm gonna brighten with white gouache later. Okay, and then I'm going right underneath that lighter streak and then basically right up to this edge of the rock. And this is gonna be lighter too. Once I go back in, I'm gonna add gouache, but now I'm gonna grab a clean, damp size 2 brush, or you can use a size 6, and basically just massage that dark color at the very bottom edge and bring it down. Like we did our gradient wash for the backgrounds, but we're doing it for this wave now. And I'm basically thinking of the inside of a like can of chili and how that cylindrical shape on the inside has those like lines around it, those rings. And so the shape of the inside of a cylinder is what a wave is. And so depending on the height and the axis of the cylinder is where I would put in those rings or those line details on the inside of a wave that has a barrel. So they're C curves, and you're gonna have them going with the direction of the wave. So if it's starting to kind of squeeze this way, think of how the inside of a can of chili would look if you were to squeeze and manipulate the shape of that can. And then I'm just washing this down so that it fades like a gradient. And then once I start to come in here, I'm gonna use that darker color with the size 2 brush and start to paint in my wet on dry details of some of these waves. So you're always incorporating it to make it smoothly blend in with the rest. Adding some more blue shadow down in here. Just wiggling my brush with the tip of the brush, and just kind of wiggling back and forth with little to no pressure. Kind of like I'm doing these Mask of Zorro Z's to bring that color out and down. And you want this consistency to be a little bit drier because that dry brush look is fun, and I'm starting to incorporate those Z's down by these rocks. We're not going to go all the way down with these strokes. We're just adding in these darker details where we're going to have more of that white foam coming in once we add white gouache in the next lesson. I'll go back on this wet area, and then we'll create more of the wave down here. We're just gonna have it be this shape. And maybe start behind here. And follow that shape. Wash it down with water. You can go all the way to the edge of the rocks or just leave it a little bit above because you're going to add white gouache around the rocks anyways, along with some darker blues under the white. Once we get there, whoops daisy, we'll just add a little bump on that guy. So then at this stage, you can keep going and bringing down your dark blue, thin dark blue strokes. But I also like to just wait and see how the white starts to come out before I go too far with this, because I want it to kind of all fit together and blend well. But at this stage, we're just gonna wait for that wave shape to dry, and then we're gonna go back in with our white gouache in next week's lesson and add our splash area. We're also gonna add more highlights down in here on the water and more darker details and little rivers of water on top of the rocks where water's pouring over. So see you in next week's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful for you. If you want to expand on these techniques, make sure you check out my online course, Everyday Watercolor Companion Course. It's under $100 and it will teach you everything and more that I teach inside of my books, plus tutorials, plus all of these things condensed in one place and with items that I've never shared before. So if you need a little extra assistance, if you're working through my books or if you're working through my tutorials, this is going to be the perfect course for you to dive even deeper and actually see the examples and tutorials outlined in video format. So I hope you check it out. As always, thank you for watching these videos, and I will see you next week when we finish up this painting.